Not every marketing strategy works for every person or every business. I could go and buy pay-per-click ads. We run pay-per-click ads for clients all the time. You'd be like, why aren't you doing pay-per-click? Because it's $8 a click for marketers. Are you kidding me? It's a lose-lose situation there. I'm not paying $8 a click when I can send 1,000 emails a month for $500 and get way more results out of those than I would be doing pay-per-click. And I did pay-per-click for the agency for a while, and it wasn't profitable. I'm not going down that road. That said, if you have a local brick and mortar business, if you're a wedding DJ and you only serve a particular market, buy some pay-per-click. It's a gold mine. It's fantastic. But AI is starting to take away a lot of that search volume. It's not going to be there forever. You have to keep trying new stuff and just take the logical step back and be like, everybody's talking about how webinars are great. And webinars, that's where you sell everything.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is Drew Donaldson. He is the CEO of GroHaus. GroHaus bridges the gap between DIY marketing and costly, inefficient full-service agencies, offering hands-on coaching, consulting, and fractional services tailored to meet business needs. Drew, so excited to have you on today. How you doing?
Excited to be on, Chris.
We were having such a great conversation about music and marketing and social media and trends that we experience both with politics, with the economy, everything that's involved. I'm excited to dive more into it. Tell us more about your journey. What were you doing before? And tell us more about GroHaus.
Before I started GroHaus, I was actually consulting for a number of years in media. I went to film school, and I really thought the big thing I was going to be doing is ads and advertisements. I just really fell in love with that format. I'd always really loved advertising. Even as a kid, my parents' party trick for me was to have me recite commercials verbatim. I would memorize these commercials, and then they would be like, do the commercial for Foot Locker. And I would know the whole commercial for Foot Locker or Keystone Light or whatever. They got a kick out of it. But I always loved, when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was watch infomercials. I was obsessed with advertising. And I was the kind of kid that hated when people would these are pre-DVR days when you would record something on tape and people would fast forward through the commercials. I was like, no, I want to see the commercial. When I got out of school, it was kind of a natural fit. And I saw an opportunity where there was a lot of business owners at the time wanted to start putting video on social media. But this is back in the days where no one did that. There was no studios. There was no coaches. Your phone wasn't good enough yet. So we're still in the flip phone era. You still needed a camera. And I found a niche helping business owners create digital media, specifically for online. I did some commercials. I did some music videos. I did some random projects. And I got myself enmeshed in the studio system in New York. And I thought that was the way up. That was the way I was taught in school, that you intern and then you become an assistant and then you do this and you do that. And one day I was talking to one of the guys at the studio and I asked him how much he made. And he was a senior guy that had worked on albums with big artists and had done big television projects. And he proudly made $25 an hour, really satisfied. And this is like 20 years ago. That's not as crazy, but Costco was hiring at the time for $25 an hour entry level. And I was like, there is no way I am staying in this industry and running and getting coffee for angry artists for the next 5 years just to make $25 an hour. Once I finally achieved that seniority, I was like, forget that. I looked at what my skills were and I was like, all right, how do I land on my feet here? I have this advertising background. I've been doing these ads for people and I did some radio spots and stuff like that. The easiest pole vault is just take what I know here and then I find a marketing team that I can embed myself in and then I learn marketing. It took me a while, but I eventually got a job with St. John's in New York as their in-house video guy. And they were trying to insource all their video production from these big ad agencies in New York. They need someone who understands the complete pipeline and can manage all these productions and actually do them to compete with this work we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for each year. So they hired me and I stayed there for 3 to 5 years. And during that time, we insourced all the production and I started producing ads for them and video promos and that stuff. It was really cool is we actually did 2 television ad sets. It was 2 sets and they both went on to compete because there was a little overlap between the agency contract ending and my contract starting. There was like 6 months of overlap. We produced at the same time and my ads beat their ads at an award show. And I was like, That's awesome. Me as 23, 24-year-old, and I'm taking on this monster ad agency and I crushed them in the competition. Now they did get the runner up behind me. It's like they didn't do too bad of a job, but I was pretty jazzed that I smoked these guys. I did that for a while and then I got an offer to go work for an agency. And that's how I discovered I hated working for agencies because it was the worst experience of my life. 6 months, it was everything you hear that's bad about agency life in the modern day. I thought I was going to be hanging out with David Ogilvy type folks, and it's not that at all. It's a churn and burn model. They don't care about the creative. It's just how much can you get out the door. And I was working in the worst of the worst industry is pharmaceuticals, which if anyone is considering a job in pharmaceutical ads, run. You are better off becoming a monk in Tibet than you are working in pharmaceutical. I did that for a bit and then I went to do consulting. And at this point, I had enough marketing background that I was like, okay, now I can kind of shift and not do as much of the media production and focus more on the actual strategy. My first marketing campaign was actually a LinkedIn automation campaign. This is before any of these automation tools are out. There's one tool out there that was written by this guy in Pakistan that it was like you paid him through PayPal to get a code to download it, and then he would provide all the service. There was no team. It was just this one guy in Pakistan. I set up this weird thing and it sent out a bunch of messages pitching me as a consultant, and it worked gangbusters. I had meetings booked every single day, and half the meetings were people asking me, how did you do that? How did you send them out? Because 4 people on our team got this all within seconds of each other. And how are you doing this? And some of it was me just talking about automation. And then eventually there was this consultant that was leaving a role and he was looking for someone to replace him because he was taking a role at a different company. I got into this media company and my whole kind of job was to do what I had done previously, which was to come in and fix it. This thing's really ugly and broken. Come in and fix it. I did that for 5 years. It only took me about 6 months to fix the issue. I was like, what else am I going to do here? And I realized I started going and doing webinars and trainings about data and automations. This is cool. That's where I really got into everything from machine learning to data analytics to automation. I taught myself Python. And by the time I had left that consulting, I had the full stack experience of the creative down pat. I got the strategy. I have the data and analytics and technical knowledge. And it was off to the races. After I left that, I partnered up with 2 guys to launch a version of this agency. After a year running it with them, I bought them out and I've been running it solo since. We really focus primarily on the lead generation side, as well as the data and analytics, automation, and AI side. Those are kind of the 2 sides of the business. And we do the rest of the normal agency stuff, but those are really the 2 things that people seek us out for.
I love that journey, taking all that influence and experience and then helping other businesses and entrepreneurs basically replicate what you've done already. That's super incredible. Are there certain industries or types of professionals that you generally work with, or just some stories or examples on how you've helped them from where they first started?
We define our audience as knowledge in service. What we're looking for is people that have spent a lot of time becoming very smart about the thing they do and not a lot of time becoming marketers. This could be anyone from a lawyer or an accountant to full educational institutions. And one of our best case studies is we're working with a small private school, boarding school. And when we first came in, they were struggling with lead generation because they had never had to do it. They had a really well-honed funnel of referrals that had lasted for nearly 100 years. And all of a sudden that started to weaken and they weren't getting as many. And it wasn't because the school got worse or that the school changed. It was simply because the people that were sending them referrals were retiring and nothing was being done to supplement that. As these people would retire, the torrent of referrals started becoming a dribble of referrals. We came in and we said, there's a great story here that we can tell about the school. It has life-changing effects on the students. And it has an unbelievable alumni network of hyper successful people. We need to tell that story. And all we did was we crafted one ad that we spoke to the parents of these kids and spoke their language and used the terminology that they're using and the frustrations that they're feeling with their student. And then we backed that up with stories from the school, from teachers, from alumni, talking about how game-changing the school is. And within the first month, I think we had done something 100 leads in the first month. And it got to the point where we were actually overproducing and they couldn't keep up. The only time in my life I've added friction to a funnel intentionally, because we have to separate the wheat from the chaff here. There's too many people coming in and not all of them are qualified. You need to really focus in on those people. And every once in a while, you add that preemptively, like, hey, I don't want anyone that can't afford this service. I'm going to add a checkbox on the form that says, yes, I have $1,500 a month to spend on marketing or whatever. That's a preemptive friction point. We kept having to add field after field because people were still coming in too fast. If you now go and look at that campaign, that lead form is 10 fields long. It's ridiculous. And people still book every single day because it's the power of the story we're telling for them and how this very specific school with their very specific set of knowledge has these life-changing impacts. As long as we can describe that story to a parent, then they have no choice but to click the button. Because it's like, would you walk by someone on the street that's just $300? No, it's too good of an offer. That's the key example of someone who has a phenomenal amount of wealth and experience in an area, just doesn't have the marketing chops to be able to put all the pieces together and tell that story.
Absolutely. Is there a common trait between the entrepreneurs who are struggling to get to that next level? Maybe they have a lot of ambition, they have their own expertise, but they don't know the marketing. What are they struggling generally that is preventing them from hitting that next level? Is it just that perfectly crafted ad, that funnel that tells the story? Or is there something different that people are missing?
We call it Seurat syndrome. George Seurat was a pointillist painter. The most common painting that everybody has seen is the one that's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where they visit the Chicago Museum of Art. And it's this huge painting of people on the bank of a river. And they're having lunch. And I think it's called Sunday Afternoon or something like that. The thing is, when you stick your nose right up against that painting, all you see is dots. You just see individual points. It's not until you step 30 feet away that you see the whole picture. And the reality is, for a lot of people, they are too close to their business. They can only see the dots. They can't see the interconnections. They can't see how the colors blend together. They can't see the real story that they're telling, and they can't really connect what they're doing with their audience. A lot of times it either takes some serious kind of step back and reflect on who these people are, way more than just writing another pointless marketing avatar that's not really going to get you anywhere because it's the same stuff you've been writing for years. It's really taking that step back and what is the painting I'm trying to create here? What is this story? What is the thing that I'm really providing to these people? Each of these bullet points on a sheet of paper. And I think that's really hard. And that's where most of our clients come in when they work with us. That's exactly what it is. They're highly successful. They're great at what they do. They have no way to say, I do this really well. How do I tell people about that? That's the number one. There's one commonality. That's what it really comes down to.
I appreciate that because for a lot of entrepreneurs, they do a lot of things to see them struggling like that and just spinning their wheels. And it can take so long for them to build this business together. Just want to prevent them from having those struggles. And for those who are interested in learning more about your consulting and your services, where can they find you and connect with you online?
GroHaus.org is our website. You can see some of our work and read about our philosophy there and who we serve. I would say X is probably where I'm most active. So if you're trying to get my attention there, or LinkedIn, both will work well. But X, it's GR0HAUS. And I do this shout out frequently. If anyone knows the guy, Greg GroHaus, who owns the GroHaus tag or the username on Twitter, put me in contact with him. I've been trying to contact this guy for years to get that. And I just cannot find the guy. And then Drew Donaldson on LinkedIn. And I look like this. So if you see this, and then there's a profile image that looks like a younger version of this, that's me.
And we'll have the links available down in the show notes and the descriptions for everybody here. But Drew, what was the turning point and that scaling point for you as a business owner? Is it based on the relationships and in networking that you're doing? Are you doing SEO, running ads, blogging? Or are you doing the full picture of everything? Or is there something or someone should focus on to level up their marketing for scaling?
I think beyond all of that, you have to get your offer. One of the biggest things that changed my business from being something that made me feel like I was chasing my tail to something that was actually growing was decommoditizing my services. Because if you're just going out and saying, I can build you a website and that's what the other 10 guys are saying, then it all comes down to price, right? And then the last thing you want is for your clients to be able to compare you apples to apples to somebody else and say, well, he's charging 40% more than this other guy. We'll just go with this other guy and get the exact same thing, because they're not getting the exact same thing. They're going to get lower quality. And the way you design that offer is how you determine what quality is that you're really providing them. I think that's the most important thing. In terms of my own marketing strategy, I'm pretty invested in cold email right now. That's where we're really seeing the best results. I've run ads for years. I run ads for clients. Ads can be very, very effective. They are expensive though. And it does require you to have a very unique value proposition and do a lot of audience building around that value proposition. The days of being able to go out to a cold audience with an offer isn't as effective. And I can tell you, I ran an ad on TikTok for 2 years. Every time I would turn it on, it would fill my pipeline for clients until it didn't. And it's not because I burnt it out. It had been off for a good 6 months from the last time I turned it on that it worked. It's just there's so many more advertisers in the marketplace that you really have to stand out. And the best way to stand out is to build an audience first. If you're looking for speed to get out there, cold email is pretty good. 2-week warm up. You write a couple emails, you download some leads. You can do it pretty efficiently for $500 a month. You just got to know how to do it, which is, I think, what keeps most people out of the game. Ads are fantastic, but you need to have a really fantastic ad strategy and a fantastic offer to bring to the table. Which, by the way, shameless plug, I have a workshop where I will teach you how to do all of that exactly how we do in the agency. So if you are interested in that, you can check out info.grohaus.com/cascade.
I love all that advice. It's practical. It's demonstrating, hey, this is what you've done, what has worked well for you. But don't forget about those really important foundational pieces, your offer, that really is going to set that foundation for you. And I think it highlights the importance of both having a multi-channel approach and your flexibility to pivot. If TikTok isn't working at this time, you have to pivot to something else, test something, see what works. But your ability to adapt to the situation, that's going to allow you to grow further and not be affected by the external influences that business owners are kind of affected by.
100%. And not every marketing strategy works for every person or every business. I could go and buy pay-per-click ads. We run pay-per-click ads for clients all the time. You'd be like, why aren't you doing pay-per-click? Because it's $8 a click for marketers. Are you kidding me? It's a lose-lose situation there. I'm not paying $8 a click when I can send 1,000 emails a month for $500 and get way more results out of those than I would be doing pay-per-click. And I did pay-per-click for the agency for a while, and it wasn't profitable. I'm not going down that road. That said, if you have a local brick and mortar business, if you're a wedding DJ and you only serve a particular market, buy some pay-per-click. It's a gold mine. It's fantastic. But AI is starting to take away a lot of that search volume. It's not going to be there forever. You have to keep trying new stuff and just take the logical step back and be like, everybody's talking about how webinars are great. And webinars, that's where you sell everything. Does it make sense for a wedding DJ to do a webinar on your perfect playlist? Probably not.
Nope, I totally agree. You have to find the industry, it's your offer, your audience, your messaging, all of that really plays into it. It can be the great thing for you, but that doesn't mean it can be copy pasted into other businesses as well. Drew, we appreciate you coming on. I wanted to ask one quick question under 60 seconds if you can. What are you looking forward to most in 2025? Launching anything new, doing just the same amazing stuff you've been doing?
We have a couple of new offers that I'm working on right now that I don't want to talk about yet because they're not quite out of the incubator, but those are really exciting for me. And one is a kind of a brand realignment for us internally. Another is a strategy that partnership model with some of our clients who struggle with sales. And there's just some other opportunities that have popped up randomly with opportunities come from weird places. And we've gotten a couple in the last few weeks that isn't what we do, but we could definitely do this. We didn't set out to make soup, but we'll eat the soup. Like, no problem.
I love that. And no worries at all. Keeping your cards close to your chest right now, because it's still something you have to work up. And that execution piece that you want to make sure you perfect before you launch. I totally respect that. Drew, thank you for coming on, sharing your tips and tricks. For those of you who are interested, make sure you reach out, connect with Drew here. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey and wisdom with us.
No problem, man. This was a great conversation.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.